What's up, guys? Jeremy Conn back with you. Lowdown here, Pickdawgz.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. You can check out all the packages I have available over at the site, along with all the other cappers. Lots of great plays, and we've been doing this for a little bit now, so we'll just keep this thing rolling. You guys know how it goes. I talk a little bit about the weather, how it's affecting certain games, kind of give you what I'm looking at. I'll give you a couple leans and then a free pick at the end. A couple of things about this, though, because, just so everybody knows, I record a lot earlier than the other guys just because of the morning show that I have. So, and how things work. Every once in a while, we'll get a pitching matchup that changes. The other day we've seen teams go to openers, and it really affects things. I had a really nice prop play on Dean Kramer the other day, and then the Orioles went with an opener, and he killed it when he came in. Had that one bad inning, but the props got taken down after that. I did talk to a couple of people that still got that when I had mentioned it. I didn't talk about it here through some other stuff and on my show. But it just, when you get those spots and you like them so much and then all of a sudden something gets tweaked and changed, like literally my phone's blowing up. I can't find this prop. I'm going, oh no, they switched. So that's just one thing I'll say, like with the pitching matchups, everything's tentative. You'll see it on the screen here. But and we have one of those games today that I'm going to go over where we don't know who the White Sox are going to start. But we'll get to that when the time comes. Been having some fun here. I tried to go back and interact with a few people. There was a few questions that I saw on the first pod that I did. So when you hear me talk about totals, I'm talking team totals. Or I'm going to get screwed up again. I'm talking game totals and not team totals. If I wanted to say, like, take the Reds over 4.5 runs, I would say Reds team total over it. I talk so generically about it because this is just, I guess I'm old school the way I came up. We weren't betting team totals back in the 90s and 2000s, but you were, but like, again, before it was legal, it wasn't something everybody was looking at. It was just usually looking at sides and totals. So a couple things to point out. I think we have an interesting slate today. There's some weather that I think can help. As I've talked about this before, there's a lot of things that I look at and take into consideration, and not just wind. The temperature is huge, humidity, which we've talked about, and we have one of those games today that I think is very, very interesting, and I'll get to that in just a bit. Now, let's go over these games today. We have 4 to talk about, and forgive me for putting on the glasses, but I got to break everything down. And as I said on this podcast, you'll probably hear me talk a lot about the Orioles and a lot about Wrigley Field, and a lot about those East Coast teams when it heats up, and I think there's going to be high humidity. You'll see me point out those games, and it's not like every day. Like today, I'm talking about the Cubs. I'm not talking about the Orioles today. So I don't want you to think I'm just going to get locked in on a handful of teams. It's just on the East Coast, as I bring it up, and forgive me if you've heard this because I've said it multiple times already, and I'll probably say it more times coming back because you don't know what new listeners are coming in. On the East Coast, when it rains and it's really hot, we had one of those situations last night in Baltimore, 90 degrees with a little bit of drizzle, same thing in D.C., and of course, you look at the heat and humidity picks up and what can happen in a game. Doesn't always mean it's going to be a big-time home run game. The other day, I loved the weather spot, and it kind of played in. I wanted to attack both pitchers in the Royals and Yankees game, and it was a 1-0 game. Sometimes pitchers are just on, and nothing you can do about it, or the bats just aren't doing anything, like the Orioles against left-handed pitching, which is clearly a thing, as they scratched out 1 run in that game against Tarek Skubal the other day. Now, let's look at today's game. So we're going to start off with Wrigley. It's a 2:20 start, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry. It might be. It's an earlier game. Cubs and Pirates. So here's what we have. It's Mike Burrows, who has a 5-run ERA and a 1.39 whip. You got Matt Boyd with a 2.89 and a 1.23 whip. And why do I always bring up whip? To me, like, people look at ERA and different things. I don't care about ERA. It's just a talking point to go through. Whip to me is it's telling me how many guys you're putting on base. And the more guys you put on base, that's when I'm looking at things. So let me start this over. Whip and BABIP are 2 things that I like to look at. BABIP, batted balls in play. It's batting average of balls in play. It's going to tell you a lot about if you're getting lucky, unlucky. In baseball, you can have hard hit balls go right at somebody. The analytics are telling you, the exit velocity and all the things that matter and how hard you're hitting the ball and where it is. And then on defense, they're using analytics to say, hey, he always hits it here. So, again, everybody's using it. It's just who shows out a little bit more. But with Mike Burrows and Matt Boyd's whips, it's a little high, but he's just been locked down. He gets Ks. This was a guy that came up with the Tigers, and I thought he was going to be a stud in this league, but it was during those really lean years where he was one of their best pitchers, and now kind of refinding himself here the past couple of years and looking good with the Cubs. Mike Burrows, I mean, that's a chunky ERA and with basically a 1.4 whip. What does that mean? It means he puts 1.4 batters on per inning. Now, I know that's technically impossible, but when you're doing the averages, that's what it comes out to. If you're putting 1.5 guys on, that's a recipe for disaster. Just period, full stop. So I would lean under in this game simply because we got wind blowing about 10 miles an hour in. It's in the high 60s, so it's not like really hot. It's not cold. Obviously, it's the summertime. But I would lean under in this matchup. Let's move on to the White Sox and Rangers. Now, right now, tentatively, Jacob deGrom is supposed to start for the Rangers. The White Sox, and I don't know if it's because of the trade they made for Aaron Savali. Aaron Savali requests a trade because he's not starting. And the Brewers said, yeah, we'll give you one. How do you like the White Sox? Some bitch. How did you do that to him? But yeah, he got traded, so we'll have to see what their rotation is going to look like and how they stack things up. But right now I don't have a picture for this. But I will tell you, the wind's blowing out at about 10 miles an hour in Texas, 90 degrees. I would lean over here even with deGrom on the mound and not even knowing who the White Sox pitcher is. It's good hitting conditions. So when I'm saying lean over, does it mean I'm lean over? That sounds kind of creepy, doesn't it? It doesn't mean that I'm absolutely on that play. As I'm looking at it, these are the games that I think are most affected by wind as it stands, or by weather as it stands now. Like, things can clearly change, and that's not me trying to play both sides of it. I just want to be clear in what I'm saying, because when I give out leans, it's like, yeah, this is where I would be looking, but there's way more stuff that goes into this when I'm breaking down games. I just think weather is one of the most important things. So, again, 90 degrees, wind out at about 10 miles an hour. Looks like a decent overplay. I would lean there. Moving on, Braves and Rockies. This is an interesting game because we have Spencer Strider. And if you guys haven't watched Spencer Strider this year, he's 0-5. And I don't care about win-loss records. When you look at his numbers, he's got a 5.40 ERA and a 1.28 whip. Chase Dollinger has a 6.85 and a 1.54. He sucks, okay? So we know that. We get that out. At some point, Strider's going to put it together and look like the guy that we all saw, Calfzilla out there just throwing heat with his lip sweater. And I think he gets it back. I mean, coming off the injury he had, I think we get so caught up in how good some of these guys are and expect them to look the way that they did, and he's still kind of working back. The strikeout numbers aren't quite there. I think that'll come up throughout the year and as he gets more comfortable and more stretched out. But this looks like one of those games, and this is exactly the type of spot I'm looking for. It's hot there. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast, and as I talked about the East Coast, the humidity picks up, and to me, it's a big plus in helping everything out. So right now we're looking at 80-some degrees. The wind's not much of a help as it's going like left to right, but again, that can change. And there's light rain, and what did I say about light rain? It brings in the humidity. I would lean over in this matchup. I think it's pretty good. Sorry, I got the hiccups. One of the things I wanted to bring up, too, is there are stadiums that are retractable roofs. One of the most important ones to recognize is Arizona. Right now in Arizona, it's 105 degrees outside. I don't think they open up the roof tonight. But when you see that, if you look and find out they're opening up the roof, the bump goes to the bats right off the bat. As soon as because there's so much dry heat out there, and 105 degrees will wear their asses out faster than you can believe. I mean, that's just a nasty, nasty heat. So, again, there's nothing. I don't think they leave the dome open tonight, so I'm not saying it's going to be a huge help. I just believe, like, if you pay attention to that stuff, you can find an edge here or there every once in a while with the retractable roofs. Now, free play, and we're going to talk about the Yankees Red Sox. I said this the other day. You watch me keep moving my glasses up and down. With the Yankees Red Sox, and there's no like statistical data or anything that's saying this. It just happened, though. I feel like whenever they play 3-game sets, every game goes over or every game goes under. And I know it sounds so stupid. You go back to the last one. What did they have in the final game? It was Garrett Crochet and Ryan Yarborough, I think. Or was that Saturday's game for them? every game went over. I mean, these guys just mash, or we have these 3-1 games, and it's quite possible. The pitching matchup, Carlos Rodon versus Hunter Dobbins, and Dobbins was the guy. I hope the story was correct that I read earlier today. Dobbins was the guy that said he would never play for the Yankees because of his dad, and then his dad told him he lied to him about that story, and it created this whole narrative as he was facing them. But, you know, like, and maybe that was Sunday night. I think Dobbins was Sunday night when he faced the Yankees. But anyway, wind is in at about 7 miles an hour, high 50s, okay? So that means that the cooler temperatures, the ball's not going to carry as much. And when I look at this, the free play for today is going to be leaning under in the Yankees and Red Sox. But we look at these matchups, and anything's possible in these games. Nothing would shock me happening. But, again, free play with the under because we've got a decent pitching matchup. I'm not a big Dobbins fan, but he has been okay. Let me throw you his numbers real quick. Dobbins, 4.20, and he's got a 1.2 whip. He's got a decent strikeout-to-walk ratio. Rodon's been ridiculous this year. But as I was talking about him the other day on my show and just saying, you know, the humidity picks up. He's one of those guys that needs to change his jersey 3 times in a game because I've never seen anybody sweat as much as that cat. I thought he was playing on a different team, how dark his jersey was the other day when he was pitching. So, but again, I think all these spots are very interesting. Make sure you're checking out for my plays, like, subscribe, and if you hit the notifications button, you'll know every time we post a podcast here. So appreciate you guys listening, and I'll be back tomorrow.